Hello and welcome back to the countdown to Nintendo Switch 2. This week we're going to be talking about kind of the rest that we haven't talked about yet, with the exception of Mario, because next week will be close to March 10th, Mario Day. So I'm going to be doing like a Mario Day special for that. The following week, I think the episode is going to fall on or just before my birthday, so I'm going to do a special on Metroid, because that's pretty much my favourite franchise at this point. So I'm going to be talking about obviously Metroid Prime 4, but then also some others. So this week is going to be all of the other Nintendo franchises that we might see on Switch at some point, or Switch 2, sorry, at some point relatively soon. I'm going to go kind of series by series and talk about what I think is going to come, when it's going to come, what I'd like to see, and that sort of thing. So let's get into it. So probably the biggest series that I'm not giving a special episode to is Animal Crossing. I mean, yeah, it sold, 40-something million, I believe is the latest numbers on Switch. So it's easily biggest in terms of sales. I've not talked about, having already talked about Mario Kart. Personally, I do love Animal Crossing. I think it's like 120 hours in New Horizons. But it's not one I get super excited for. It just kind of comes and I play it as much as I want to play it, and then I move on to other things. But yeah, they're really good fun. If you've never played them, I definitely recommend it. I'm interested in when we're going to see this one. I think it's going to be quicker than we got it on Switch 1. I think next year, as in 2026, is fairly likely. The team that make it, I believe, also makes Splatoon. So I think so far they've kind of done Splatoon, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Animal Crossing? No, they did 2 Splatoons, then Animal Crossing. So obviously they've just finished with Splatoon 3. Well, I say just finished, but I think they actually stopped making new updates for it over a year ago at this point. I imagine they've been heavily working on the new Animal Crossing for Switch 2. I also imagine they will have seen the numbers a game like Mario Kart can do when it comes out early in the game's life, where it just, whenever somebody buys, well, not every time, but pretty much anyone who buys a Switch will pick up Mario Kart, and I think they think Animal Crossing can do the same kind of thing. Because obviously it's done 40 million, but if it had come out even earlier, that number would be even higher, presumably. I will be very interested to see how well it does sell though, because New Horizons had the COVID boom, so I'm not sure how it's going to fare without that. I think it's still going to sell really well, and I think a lot of the people that will have bought it for the first time during COVID will probably be interested to pick up another one when they get a Switch 2. I don't know if it is the sort of thing that will convince people to buy a Switch 2, unless they do something kind of crazy with it, maybe, which we'll talk about what they could do soon. I can imagine it. I don't think the next game will be the best selling Animal Crossing, but I can see it being the second best, like more than I think New Leaf was the second best currently. So I think it will beat that, but I don't think it will do the same numbers as New Horizons did, especially because Switch 2 I also don't expect to do the same numbers as Switch 1, so it's got less people to do it from anyway. As for the actual gameplay, I'm actually hoping that they will utilize some of the technology leaked from the what do they call it, global online playtest thing, where that had many people working together on the same map and you could build things. I kind of hope that that is a test for Animal Crossing rather than its own game, because within that, allegedly, you had you'd have like your own safe zone where if you put your beacon down, you could build within it, but other people couldn't. And I can see that being used for Animal Crossing. Obviously you wouldn't necessarily need to have a beacon, but you'd have your town zone that you were free to build in and customize to your desire. But then you'd be in a shared world with, I imagine it would only be like up to 7 other friends or something like that at most. And then they each have their own zone and you can just go over and see them without having to do the online stuff from New Horizons, where I can't remember exactly how it worked, but you'd get a loading screen as you went to them, and then they'd have to stop what they were doing to watch you join in, and that would happen every time somebody joined. So if you were having like a few people to come over, it would just, you see the same thing again and again and again. So hopefully with this one, you just be able to go over whenever you want, even if they went online. Maybe you could like leave gifts for them, or maybe water their flowers, but just not dig anything up or like change anything. Perhaps unless you give them permission, that would be quite nice. So if you do have friends you trust, then you can just collaborate with each other. And my hope for that would be that there would be kind of a shared in between, so that you each have a town, like 2 at the bottom, 2 at the top, 2 on each side or something. But then there's a square area in the middle that you collaborate on, and you can all just build together, make gardens or whatever. Maybe there could be some special shops. You know, you'd have Tom Nook's place in your own town, but then there could be some big like shopping mall or something that you could work together to spend money on to get it upgraded, like Tom Nook's. I think that would be really cool. I don't know that they'd be willing to do that. Nintendo has been hesitant to do online, but they did do this global online playtest for some reason. So either that is just for its own game, that's going to be its own thing, or because they're looking to get more into online. I'm hoping the latter, but we'll see. Yeah, the same devs that make Animal Crossing make Splatoon. We're definitely going to get a Splatoon at some point on the Switch 2. I think it'll probably be a couple years, because we've not long had 3. It was what, 2022? 3? I can't remember. I didn't play 3 because I played 1 and 2 and didn't play a huge amount of them, so I thought buying 3 was a bit of a waste. But I would be excited by 4, especially if they do kind of change things up a bit more than they have done so far in between releases, which is also why I'd like them to take a bit longer this time, so they can maybe add a bit more. I'd like, personally, I'd like a single player mode, but maybe that'd be more of a spin-off thing they'd want to do. I mean, I know there is a single player mode, but something a bit more meaty to just like sink your teeth into rather than just challenge rooms, essentially. I was interested to try that roguelike mode, but like I say, I didn't have 3 and I didn't want to buy 3 just for it. So maybe something along those lines. I'm not a huge Splatoon guy, so I don't know what else they could add. I'd imagine some new weapons. Yeah, I think I'd like some kind of change to the formula a little bit, but we'll see how they manage it. One series I am very excited about, the prospect of the next game, is Luigi's Mansion 4. I've played all of the Luigi's Mansion games. I've liked all of them at least. I was actually a little bit disappointed by 3 because I actually recently went back and finished it, having started it when it first came out, and I think I got about halfway through when it first came out and really loved it. Then going back this time and starting from the beginning, by the end of it I was just a bit done with that kind of gameplay. I think the original game had a better, the different types of ghosts just felt a bit better, whereas in 3 it kind of felt cheap at times, but then it also never really felt very difficult. But yeah, structure-wise, I would definitely love them to return to Luigi's Mansion 1 style, of being that kind of more Metroidvania as a push, but Resident Evil style of like you have to go this way to get the key, and then that opens the door over here, so then you can go a different way, rather than the Luigi Mansion. Well, there's a 2 approach where it's basically just mission structure, which fit for the 3DS, but I wouldn't want to see in any more games. And then the free formula of you do a level, you go on to the next one, you can go back whenever you want, but there's very rarely a reason to, and when there is an actual reason to, it can feel more annoying than anything when you just kind of want to keep progressing. So yeah, I'd like a return to the Luigi Mansion 1 formula, or change it again. I don't think they've done a bad game yet, so maybe trying something new. They can find a formula that works even better than any of the others so far, so I wouldn't be opposed to that. But if I had my way, it would just be Luigi Mansion 1. As for when we'll see it, so Luigi Mansion 3 was what, 2nd year of Switch? No, I think 3rd year. So yeah, I can see it being similar. I also wouldn't be surprised if it's earlier. I think next year feels about right, because it's 2019, I believe, Luigi Mansion 3, so it's been 6 years already. So next year it'll be 7, so yeah, I think by then it'll probably be ready. It'll just be up to Nintendo when to release it, but Halloween's every year, so why not release it for Halloween next year? Xenoblade and or Monolith's new IP is an interesting one. From what I've played Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and I really want to play through the whole series, because I never even finished 1. Especially with X coming out now on Switch 1 again, I'd like to play through that as well. It's just finding the time, because I know they're big RPGs, but I would love to get through them all. But from what I've heard, it seems likely that the next game from Monolith is going to be the new IP, because they've been advertising it for quite a while. I want to say it was not long after Breath of the Wild first came out, because they co-developed that, or helped with that at least. There was some artwork they released that was this kind of more fantasy-looking character than the Xenoblade style, and I'd be very interested to see what that was. Like I said, I like Xenoblade from what I've played and want to play more. I can imagine a new IP being something that appeals to me more, because I think the thing that puts me off Xenoblade the most is the kind of messy looking UI. If they could get something a bit cleaner and just a bit more straightforward, I think I'd appreciate that a lot. And then if it is more sci-fi, I'm more of a sci-fi, if it is more fantasy, I'm more of a sci-fi person, so maybe that wouldn't sit as well with me. I'd be very interested to see what it looks like, at least, because Monolith have done really well with the Switch hardware with Xenoblade 2 and 3. So it'd be really cool to see what they can do with much more powerful hardware with the Switch 2. Well, what the Switch 2 presumably is, but we'll know by that point. I remember Xenoblade Chronicles 2 being a first year launch for the Switch 1. So I can see Monolith managing to pull that off again, especially if they have been working on this new IP for that long. I can see it being a first year. Maybe it won't be December like that one was, because the Switch 2 is only going to have 6 to 7 months at most within the first calendar year. So I can see them maybe releasing early next year instead, like springtime. But yeah, it'd be very cool. I'm very interested to see how it looks and how it plays, if it is a new IP. But there's also the possibility it's Xenoblade Chronicles 4, I think. I don't think 3 finished it in a way that means they can't go back. Or maybe they'll do something else like the Xenoblade Chronicles X, where it's still a Xenoblade game, but it's something a bit different, and I believe they're part of the same universe or multiverse. I know they've all crossed over at some point with one of the DLCs. So yeah, maybe something along those, maybe even that supposed new IP, maybe that's what that is. Maybe it's Emblem Chronicles Y or something like that. But yeah, we'll see what that is, and can't wait to see it. One series we know we'll definitely get a lot of titles of is Kirby. I couldn't even count how many Kirby games there are on Switch 1, but they come out pretty much once a year. Even if it's just a small spin-off game like that Dream Buffet, the almost Fall Guys style, like rolling to collect the fruit, I think it was. So yeah, we're definitely going to get Kirby games. My biggest question is when we're going to get Forgotten Land 2. I played the demo, so for a backstory of Kirby in general, I don't really get on with Kirby games too much. I find them a bit too easy and just a bit almost pointless. Like, I don't really get anything out of them. But when I played the demo for Forgotten Land, I really liked it. To the point where I was going to buy it at launch. I can't remember what stopped me from buying it at launch, but I didn't. I think I ended up buying it later on in the year when I had some game vouchers to spend. I think it was running out or something, so I bought Kirby while I could. I've been meaning to get around to it, and I still haven't. But now with Switch 2 coming out, I'm hoping maybe it can get a little resolution boost or an FPS boost or something on Switch 2, so I'm going to wait for Switch 2 and then I'll hopefully play through the first one. So then yeah, assuming I like it as much as I like the demo, I'll be waiting for the sequel to that, so hopefully it's not too far away. So that came out in what, 22? I believe it was 22. So it's been, or it will have been 3 years next month, because I believe it came out in March. So yeah, that's possible for next year. I'd imagine it won't be something they show off in the Switch 2 Direct in April. That'll be a reveal for probably next year, maybe to release the year after. I don't imagine it's too far away. And also when I say Forgotten Land 2, it might not actually be called Forgotten Land 2, but it'll be another 3D Kirby game in a similar style at least. And I think that'll be really cool. We'll get a new 2D game at some point, I'm sure. Probably a remake. It's supposed to be, the rumor is we're getting Planet Robobot for Switch 1 at some point, so maybe that'll cover the remake for a while. And then yeah, we'll get some spin-off games like, was it Fighters? Kirby Fighters, I think it was called. They're like almost like Smash Brothers-esque one. The Dream Buffet one I mentioned. Maybe even something like I was going to say it's like Trail of the Rainbow Curse or something like that. And it's one where you draw lines to like guide a Kirby around Kirby through the level. With the mouse con feature that's supposedly coming, I can see them returning to that. With you being able to more easily draw a line exactly where you want, that could actually be really cool. Maybe they just redo the others. I think it was a sequel, right? That Rainbow one, the DS one. I'm getting confused now. But yeah, I can see them either putting that one or both, if there are two, and I've not just made that up, or doing a brand new one, or both. The way they make Kirby games, they could easily put all three out pretty quickly, so I wouldn't be surprised to see those, or some sort of brand new spin-off. Another series I'm really looking forward to seeing on Switch 2 is Fire Emblem. I haven't played a huge amount of them, but I really loved Three Houses. Like, it was probably in my top, like, I want to say 20, but I'm not. There's a lot of good games out there. So I'll say top 50 games of all time. Like, I absolutely love that game. And then that made me finally go back and finish Awakening, having started it a couple times before. And now I want to play through the other DS games, and then also Engage. Because yeah, I just want to play all of them. It's just finding the time for it all. But a Switch 2 game, because like I say, I love Three Houses, but the drawback of it was it didn't look very nice at all. Like, the art style was nice, but it just, you could tell they were kind of not so much pushing out their limits, because we've seen better on Switch, but like the hardware was kind of holding them back. I mean, Engage itself looked at least a lot nicer. I haven't actually played it myself yet. But yeah, I would think a Switch 2 version could just look really, really good. And gameplay wise, I have no complaints from what I played of Awakening or Three Houses. I'd like pretty much stay the same. I did prefer the Three Houses where you've got the kind of hub world that you go back to and you can train your characters there, and I'd like to see a continuation of that. I'm pretty sure that's what Engage did. I don't remember exactly how that worked, but there was some kind of hub at least, so I imagine that would be how it is going forward. But then there is also the remake rumour of Genealogy of the Holy War, which is what, the Incube one? No, that doesn't sound right. There's one of the odd ones. And yeah, I haven't played that original one, so this would basically be a new game for me, so looking forward to that. I think my biggest hope for any Fire Emblem is that they're not as long, even though they're not crazy long, like Xenoblade being like 100 hours or something. But when there's this many of them, like I've got 3 that I want to catch up on, being the 3DS ones I've not played, and then the Engage, to then add another remake, presumably another new one. That's a lot of time to have to play through. Three Houses was what, I want to say it took me 50 to 60 hours, but then there was also the whole, like, there's 4 different timelines, whatever you want to call it, and I wanted to play through all of those, but just couldn't find the time to do all of that. So yeah, I would be quite happy if I'd like it to be about 30 hours, because I think that should be long enough, but I'm also probably the only one that doesn't want it to be as long as the others, so they're not going to listen to me, which is fair enough. As for when Fire Emblem's going to happen, I would assume this remake's going out soon, and is going to be a Switch 1, Switch 2 cross-generational thing. The next mainline one, so Engage was what, 23, I believe? Or was that also 22? Close to that, so it's been a few years, so yeah, we'll probably get it in a couple of years. I don't think they need to rush to get it out, so I think, yeah, get the remake out now and then put the new one out in a couple of years, if that makes sense. So all of those have been games that I'm pretty certain we'll see at some point on Switch 2. What I'm not so certain about is Star Fox. We went through the whole Switch 1 generation without any new Star Fox games. I mean, we did get Zero. It was like right before the Switch came out. I think it was the year before. So it's only been 9 years at this point. But that's still a long time. to not have any new games, so it does make you wonder, do they not want to make a new one? Like, was Zero the kind of nail in the coffin? Because it's never been a huge seller, so they've probably never felt like they have to get them out because it's like something that's going to sell well. But I would love them to get maybe a third-party developer or even an indie developer to just make a smaller scale thing. I mean, the Lilac Wars, Star Fox 64 and American Lilac Wars in the UK at least, I think it was the whole of Europe. That they were only, and Zero as well, if you only do one run of it, it's only 1 hour long, if that. And then you just do like multiple playthroughs with like a few different branching paths to different planets. So I think, even an indie developer would be capable of doing something like that. So I hope they don't fully give up on the franchise. My favourite game, I don't think it's anyone else's, is Assault. I actually really love the having the R-Wing battles and then the Landmaster thing, and then also being able to get out of the Landmaster and just be on foot. I'd actually love to see a continuation of that. But I don't think that was very popular, so I don't know that we're likely to. There have been rumours for ages of getting an Assault remake at some point, like a port essentially, and I would play that for sure. So even if we just got that, I'd be happy. Yeah, I think we'll see stuff at some point. What would be cool is if they did try a Star Fox Adventure style thing, not so much in copying Adventure, but just in a take the franchise in a whole new direction that they've never done before. I don't know what they could do exactly, but maybe some genre they've never tried. Maybe just an action game. Maybe they do an adventure too, but do it a bit better this time, so people actually like it. But yeah, be interesting. We could see it at any point. I have no idea when it would come out. I mean, the fact it's been so long, it could easily be first year, but I also wouldn't be totally shocked if we never get another new game. So we'll see. Perhaps even less likely is another F-Zero. So I played a lot of F-Zero X as a kid, and then F-Zero GX. I think I only rented it, but I really liked it. So I would love to see a new F-Zero. Obviously, with Mario Kart being the juggernaut that it is when it comes to sales, it feels difficult to prioritize an F-Zero that would probably do maybe a few million if they're lucky. But with them only doing one Mario Kart per generation, and even if it's just a port, I can see them wanting, maybe a few years down the line, like maybe halfway through the Switch 2's life cycle, when they've already done a few years worth of Mario Kart DLC, which I imagine they're going to do, but that's not even a guarantee. But once they've done that, then I can see them wheeling out an F-Zero to kind of satiate the racing crowd, and then they could do another few years of DLC for that. I think they've said multiple times before that the reason they haven't done a new one is because they don't have any new ideas for it. But maybe, I thought just doing a HD one would be enough, but they didn't. Maybe now they're in 4K, maybe that's enough. Or, they're doing 24 races in Mario Kart, maybe they could do, I think the maximum before was 30 races in F-Zero, so maybe they could do 100 races like with F-Zero 99, but in a more modern engine, graphical engine. I don't know if that would be enough for them, but I hope they just make a new one, or even just port GX. That's been rumoured a couple times before. That'd be something at least. The fact that they've done F-Zero 99 and seem to be supporting it really well does make me wonder if that is kind of laying the foundation to get people more interested in F-Zero, so that when a new one comes out, there's more people who are ready to buy it and play it. But it could also just be, a smaller team just had the idea and went with it, and it worked out well. So, yeah, unfortunately, we'll have to see. That's the biggest franchises that are left from the really big ones. As for other things, I mean, Earthbound, are we ever going to get something like that? Probably not at this point. Personally, I'd like them to remake the old games before they do any new ones. I've briefly played, what is it? So it's Earthbound, the NES one, and then there was the SNES, I think. The one that came out first on Wii Virtual Console, Wii U Virtual Console. I played that one and I actually was really enjoying it, but I just didn't stick with it. If they were, I would love to see them remake it and give it a gorgeous art style, and I think that could really capture a lot of people. And I believe 3 is controversial in some way. I don't even know what it is. So maybe they just remake the first 2 and then they could do a new another 3 or Earthbound 2, whatever it is. That whole thing's confusing. They could rectify that as well. Maybe give it a brand new name for both regions, or just choose one and stick to it, and then have it properly numbered as well. That'd be nice. Actually, I suppose the biggest one I've not talked about and don't have plans to talk about in the same video is Pokemon. We're gonna get a load of Pokemon. You know, Legends EA will have the Pokemon Presents soon, if it's not already happened by the time I get this up. So we should know when that's coming out. It's presumably going to be playable on Switch 2 at launch, even if it's not upgraded in any way. And then the expectation is Gen 10 next year, and you know they're probably going to do one a year, most years, even if not every year. And I love Pokemon. I'll play everyone, to be honest. I hardly ever get bored of it. And I'm slowly working my way towards making a living dex. So yeah, I'm going to play everyone that comes out, and I can't wait. Oh, Pikmin. I feel pretty confident they're going to do a Pikmin 5. I don't think it's going to be a priority. It's not something they're going to rush out because it's not going to sell a load. But it seems like Miyamoto likes the series. I imagine he's going to want to do another one, or if not, maybe pass it on to a team that does want to do it. They've done a good progression of expanding the games. Each one, I think each one has been better than the last. I know some people don't like 2 as much, but I don't have any problem with it. So yeah, I'd love to see what they do next. I hope we don't have to wait a super long time again, because it was something like 11 years from 3 to 4, even though they said it was. It can't have been 11. In my opinion, it was a long time. Even though, like, not long after 3 came out, they said, "Oh yeah, it's nearly ready." Yeah, I hope it's within the next 3 to 4 years at least. And yeah, just do whatever they want with it, because they seem to know how to make a good game, funny enough. And then I just love to see them revive any franchises that we haven't had a game of in a while. I mean, a new Kid Icarus would be awesome. Some old revivals like that one was, being that Ice Climbers, something like that would be really cool. There's that, I can't remember the exact name, it's something like Muramase's Castle, that I've heard is the original game is really good, so a remake of that could be very cool. Yeah, just rebuild all the franchises, and of course, a new IP would be great. Or multiple new IPs. They've got enough that they don't need to make any, but it'd be nice to get one. I don't know what that would be, obviously, because it'd be brand new. I'd kind of like to see their own take on an actual first-person shooter. Obviously, there's Metroid Prime, and then there's like Splatoon, which is kind of like similar in different ways, but like an actual first-person shooter would be awesome. Some kind of tactics game, like XCOM or Marvel's Midnight Suns or Gears Tactics, that would be really awesome. But I think if they were to do something like that, they'd probably just use one of their existing IPs. You know, I can imagine like, I don't know, a Zelda Tactics or something. I think if they were going to make a tactics game, that's what they would do, and that's fair enough. But yeah, I'd like to see that from them. But yeah, any kind of new IP is always going to be interesting. And then hopefully it sells well. But it's always a bit of a risk, so I understand if they don't make any. That's going to do it for this week. Like I said before, next week I'm going to be doing a Mario Day special. So I'm going to be talking about the 3D Mario. We're hopefully, presumably getting probably a new... I'll talk about whether we're going to get a 2D Mario, when it's going to come out, what it'll be, and where the hell is Galaxy 2? Just give it to me. I need it. So hopefully you'll join me for that then. Thank you very much for watching this time, and I'll see you next time. Bye.